I want you to think about creating a to where you want to go. And one thing I always tell people is we're human, so we have limited vision. So I want you to think as far out as you can right now and make that the X on your map. You're going to literally create a pirate map, so to speak. That's your treasure.
Today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You were made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
And welcome to the show. My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, today's show is going to be so fantastic, and that is because of our incredible guest. Her name is Sara Orellana, and she is the founder of 3 Raptor Consulting and Sincerely Sara O. With over 18 years of experience in grant writing and nonprofit consulting. She has secured more than $50 million in funding through a data-driven approach and also advises small businesses through her work with the SBDC and the SBA. With advanced degrees across multiple disciplines, Sara helps organizations build meaningful donor relationships and achieve sustainable growth through clear strategy and science-backed methods. Y'all, put your hands together for Sara Orellana. Hey, Sara.
Hey, Renee, thank you. That was such an amazing introduction. I feel so energized. It was amazing.
Well, you are energizing, let me tell you, because the work you do is nothing short of brilliance.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
So, Sara, let's get right into it. Tell us what inspired your path to helping nonprofits with your consultancy and founding 3 Raptor Consulting.
Sure. So it's kind of an interesting story. And I think it's probably like most people's stories. Life doesn't go as planned. And so I started working in the nonprofit world. My very first job was working with children who were in the custody of the Department of Juvenile Services in Oklahoma and who were also in children's shelter. And I found that I absolutely loved them. Like, I love these kids that are middle school, high school age, that think the world hates them, that are sarcastic and have terrible attitudes. I love them. I love to shower them with love. And I always tell people I love to hold up a mirror and show them what I see and what they could be. And so that launched a career where for several years, probably more than almost 15, I was working with high-risk individuals and just showering them with love, giving them services, showing them what they could be, and giving them the skills that they really needed. Well, along this journey, I also pursued graduate school and I became an ED. I worked my way up the hierarchy. And what I discovered as I would take over these nonprofits is that there was no systems in place. There was no history. There was no succession planning. There was no training. And I would just inherit piles of messes. And on about my 4th time of getting this, I realized this is not okay. We've got to start creating systems. And in that last spot that I was, it was a really challenging location and there were a lot of egos and just a lot of things that didn't work out and ended up and wasn't the best experience. And I left. But I left because I didn't like the changes that were happening in me. I didn't want to become jaded. I didn't want to become the person that I wasn't, because I truly believe in nonprofits and I believe in social services and the work that they're doing. And so when I left and I created my business, I started asking myself the really difficult questions of how could I have made my journey better? How could I have helped other people? How could I eradicate the problems that I have? And that's when I discovered my ability to take like really complex ideas and turn them into easy systems. And so I've built my whole business will be 8 years on May 8th. So a month, and we'll be celebrating 8 years.
Hey, congrats. Hold on. That's worthy of applause and celebrating.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That's a major feat.
Thank you. Yeah. So now what we do is we create systems and we teach them and we create strategies so that we can empower. Our whole motto, our whole mission is empowering professionals with the tools they need to be successful. And I realize that probably sounds a little bit vague, and it is that way on purpose because I don't ever want to offer cookie cutter services. Of course, there's standard questions that need to come in, and of course, we can reuse things. But the challenges that one nonprofit is facing are going to be different than other nonprofits. And in developing those tools and in building my network, I met people from the SBA and SBDC. And during the pandemic, it was amazing. I got to teach so many classes. And I'm so glad I found this out after the fact. I'm so glad I misunderstood or didn't hear somebody. But I had one class I was teaching budgeting during the pandemic, and I noticed that there was like 200 people there. And so I did the thing that I do where I just made it where I couldn't see all the people in the class so that I wouldn't get nervous, so I could just teach. And afterwards they go, "Oh, by the way, that was a nationwide class." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you didn't tell me that beforehand."
Right.
And so, yeah. And then I also got to teach during that period for the Alzheimer's Association. And that's where I learned how to teach communication. Ironically, I learned it from the Alzheimer's Department or Association. And so that's my journey, is just learning, creating connections, really investing in people. And that's what I want my company to be. I'm at this point in my life, in my career, that I'm perfectly happy being in the background. I'm perfectly happy just rolling up my sleeves. My goal is to make your dreams come true. So let's talk, let's create a strategy, and let's move forward.
Right. Oh, that is so good. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And yes, like many, it doesn't always start, you don't plan it a lot of times. It just kind of happens that way. And I think that's when we show the most resilience, is when we can take our past experiences and make lemonade out of the lemons that might be trying to present themselves in our lives. And keeping that positive perspective on being able to help people by making positive change. You just did that. You just like, look, there's an issue here. There are problems here. I have the ability to fix this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to use my natural gifts, skills, and talents to fix this problem. And you have done that to the tune of over $50 million in helping to secure that amount of funding for various nonprofits. So you're onto something. So it's working. So can you tell us a little bit about the strategies that you use to help people in this way?
Okay, so I think the first thing I want to say is grant writing is not hard, and it's something that everybody can learn how to do. And when I was first tasked 18 years ago with learning how to write grants, I would go to classes, I would encounter other grant writers, and it was almost like they wanted to make it a club. Like, this is the cool kids club. We're just going to tell you enough to make you think you can't do it. And I was like, no, anybody can do this. Because here's the thing about grant writing is, as long as you can write in a manner that is cohesive and fully answers the question and clearly shows what the problem is and how to address it and how you're addressing that, and you can link that to past successes and stories so that you can show the human aspect of it and combine that with data, you're going to be wildly successful. And what is going to push that even farther over the board is when you learn how to build relationships. And so, of course, there's all these big national grants, and there's federal grants, and there's state grants, and those are harder to form those relationships with. But with your smaller foundations that are maybe regional or just in your county, when you can really form a relationship, when you can create a connection and even do that before you apply, that's where the real magic happens. And in addition to that, it's diversifying your revenue streams, right? So what so many people don't understand, and please stop me if I start getting in the weeds, please, Renee, tell me I'm getting too detailed. But what so many people don't understand is a nonprofit has to run like a business. And so in addition to doing grant writing, I teach them how to diversify to at least 4 different revenue streams so that they can show revenue coming in from different ways. And I've even done this in the public service setting with firefighters and policemen. So I've taught a lot of grant writing and seen a lot of success. And it's about creating connections. It's about being honest. It's about using data. And it's also about diversifying your revenue stream.
Wow. And so when you say creating connections, so like if there's an opportunity for you to meet someone in person, is that what you're saying? To
Yes.
schedule that meeting and develop a
Yes.
relationship with them first before you ask them for money?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. So Renee, may I use you as an example for a minute?
Of course. Absolutely.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Renee in a networking meeting. And Renee is so easy to talk to, right? She's just like this warm, sunshiny bubble that you want to hug and you want to follow around all day because she's so positive. And so we met in a networking session. We had a great conversation. And then she purposely reached out to me. And so I was like, oh, who's this chick? She's reaching out to me. She thinks I'm cool. I thought she was cool. Okay, I want to talk to her. So we start talking. And then Renee was on my podcast. I'm on Renee's podcast. And I also know she's somebody I can go to when I need other things. And Renee's also solved other problems for me, which I have shared with her on a personal note that she didn't even know she was solving. So that's my example. Because we had that connection, because we took those 5 minutes to sit and talk, and I heard about you and you heard about me, and we truly listened to each other, there's this whole ripple effect and this whole power that has happened. It's the same thing with foundations, right? So if I was to ask you for money, you're more likely going to give me money, and I'm not asking you for money. Let me be very clear. I'm not asking you for money. But if a nonprofit was coming and they had a relationship and Renee was familiar with the programs and she had seen them grow and she had even seen some failures, because failures are human, right? She's going to be much more likely to approve that grant application than when she gets in a grant application that is pristine and perfect and no relationship. So build those relationships. That's the key, especially right now.
Wow. And why do you say especially right now?
So this is how I like to answer this question, very PC, because I don't believe in speaking about politics, right? But in the current administration, there have been extreme changes in federal grant funding, and some state funding has cut because of that. So the private foundations have stepped up and are looking for ways to fill in the gaps and to help keep programs going. And because of that, they have kind of changed how they're giving, and their dollars are even more stretched. And so they're more likely to give to the people they have the relationships with than the cold applications that come in. And another key, I'm sorry, I'm saying way too much, I'm going to drop one other key in there, is show them that you have more funding coming in for the program than just through grants.
Yeah, because they don't want to be your sole source of revenue, because then if they say no, then the chances are that greater that maybe you won't be around tomorrow.
Correct.
Is that what the typical mindset is?
Yeah, it is. And so they're wanting to see you ask for donations. They're wanting to see you get corporate sponsorships, and they're wanting to see board donations, and they're even wanting to see program fees. And I had a conversation at a community foundation yesterday, as a matter of fact, about how we all believe you should charge for services, but you should never give anything away for free. Now, I think we should take the model that like John Bon Jovi does in his Soul to Soul Kitchen, where if you can't financially pay for something, then do some work to pay for that, right? So that's the thing, is that give and trade and in-kind donations. So never just give things away for free. People don't value that. But if they can repay you in a monetary way or an in-kind way and maintain their humanity and their pride, they're going to value what you're giving them. You can report that to foundations, and foundations are going to see this diversified portfolio with a lot of return on investment, and they're going to understand that for $1 that they give you, it's actually going to turn into $10 because of the other work that you're doing.
Right. Oh, that is so smart. That is really smart. And that's well-rounded. That's diversified. That's not putting all your eggs in one basket, and increasing the possibility of staying afloat, and not just afloat, but truly thriving and flourishing as a nonprofit. So, because I'm sure the goal isn't just to stay afloat. The goal is to actually be able to have impact and create, change, positive change for the most number of people that you absolutely can.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Along those lines, then, why do you believe that SMART goals are essential for sustainable growth?
I love this question. Okay, so let me start this conversation off with, I have a severe case of ADHD, and what I have learned is that if I don't have a due date, it's not going to get done. And I think that we can all say that. And as the world goes, we're all getting busier and busier. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, I have a home. There's all these things that are pulling for my attention. And and it's the same when you run a nonprofit. When you have a SMART goal, you are strategically thinking, you are creating goals that have meaning, that are intentional, but they're also realistic and time bound. And so I think whenever you give that due date, that's the power that pushes things through and makes things be successful. I do also want to say, and I'm not sure maybe which letter this would fit under, maybe we need to add a letter, but I think there also needs to be ownership. I think you need to assign a goal to either a team or a person, probably preferably, in my opinion, one person who's going to own that goal. And when that person owns that goal, it means they're doing the project management of it and the check-in, and they're making sure that they do meet their due date. And that's what's going to bring about that success. Also, SMART goals let us work in smaller chunks. And I think when we're trying to accomplish something really big, it's easier to just look at one small thing at a time. And you can actually pick up speed by just focusing on those small things and taking one step forward at a time.
Wow, I love that. Maybe we could make the A be, isn't it accountable?
It is. So yeah, that would be ownership, accountability.
Accountability and actionable. They can go together. That can be the A.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Yes.
So, Sara, as you're working with not only nonprofits, but also with regular business owners like me, when you're advising them, what do you teach them in terms of these methods? Is it different when you're supporting or advising a nonprofit versus a small business?
Honestly, I'm going to say no, which probably sounds a little bit crazy, but what I love to do when I'm working with somebody is I love to do an initial meeting that I call a deep dive, where I ask you lots of questions and I understand your goals. And then once I understand what it is you're looking for, and I also hear what you don't say and identify those holes, then I can create a strategy that addresses all of it. And then we can break it down into smaller pieces and work towards it. But I will tell you, if you're going to work with me, you have to be open-minded and be willing to step outside the box and even have some creative solutions. Because like one thing that I always advise small businesses, marketing is expensive, but it's essential for your business. So why are you doing marketing on your own? Is there a business next door to you or another business is complementary that you could share a marketing plan with and cut that cost in half? Like, are there ways where we can create a just as big an impact or a bigger impact by collaborating and partnering with other people? And so those are things I like to teach and things I like to talk about. And like, if, for example, I used to work with a group of stores that were in a strip mall, and I would tell them, I'd say, why don't you all schedule your sales together and market them together and work them together, and share things. Something else I love to say to people, and Renee, this is going to speak to you because this is actually kind of borrowing from one of your ideas. Do you really need full-time administrative assistants or administration? Or can you have virtual? Can you share? What are the ways that you can have what you need, but cut those costs? How can you creatively solve those solutions? And so it's a combination of a unique strategy with a little bit of creativity to help you have a bigger impact.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I had a coach who was sharing different similar type of scenarios where these collaborations could really go hand in hand. Like the example that was used there was if they sold juice and they were next door to a gym,
Yes.
Why not partner and see if there could be some kind of collaboration in terms of marketing and bringing in people and increasing sales and that sort of thing. And yes, I love the idea of where you went with the whole administrative support. Do you really need a full-time person, or can you do a part-time person along with somebody else? And you bring in a company like Executive Help Now to come in and serve both of you, and you're sharing that expense. So I absolutely love that. And thank you for the plug. I appreciate you. So this to me sounds like more than just being a consultant to nonprofits. It truly feels like you are coaching and mentoring these leaders in these nonprofits. So tell us about your certifications in that area and how does that influence your work?
So I'm so glad you noticed that. So Renee knows me too well. So thank you. Thank you for your help. I am not good at talking about myself. So I, 3 years ago, got certified as an executive C-suite mentor. And I chose to go with a mentor certification versus a coaching certification because theoretically, when you are a mentor, you can share personal experiences and personal journeys to help guide people through. You can share your stories, which for me, I think is very powerful because I like to be a storyteller. And it's also the art of asking really good questions and listening. And then last year, to kind of build off of that, I got certified as an executive educator and how to create courses for executive educators through Z School. And for me, the two really make sense to go together because when we're mentoring, we're also teaching and we're creating deliverables. And so the more ways that we have, and I love to learn. I'm also a certified wellness coach, and I'm also a certified mental health coach, which helps me talk about boundaries and balance and sleep health and hydration. And then this year, I'll start very soon a certification on mental toughness. And so I just kind of look for certifications that I know that would help me personally, because what I have come to find out is that the stressors I feel and the external things that I feel, 99% of the people feel. And so when I can find real solutions that I can combine to create more of a holistic approach, that's how I like to do it. And so, yes, when you sign up to work with me, you might hire me for strategy, but I'm going to mentor you along the way. And I'm going to share tips with you along the way, because I personally think everything has to be a holistic approach and we need to look at everything in a whole picture. I can't say to you, Renee, I just want to talk to you about your business. If I'm mentoring you, I also have to understand what's going on in your personal life and your personal, to a point. I mean, there are boundaries, right? But I need to help you create balance so that you're present everywhere. So those are the certifications I worked on to help instill additional skills. And I'm really working on my communication skills so that I can help others with their communication as well.
Right. Well, you're communicating loud and clear to me because I really love this, that when you're working with a client on strategy, you have to know who they are and what is motivating them and what is making them make these kinds of decisions. And a lot of that goes much deeper than the surface. And so you got to dig in, get to the root, figure out what is either hindering them, what mindset shifts they might need to make, all these different things that could be curtailing their success. So I'm so grateful that you are like the whole package. You're not just smart, with strategy. You actually get to the whole person. You speak to the whole person. Just so good. Yeah. So good.
I will share a story with you. I was doing strategy for a music producer, and he shared with me privately that in the third quarter, he was going to propose to his girlfriend. And after we got done celebrating, I told him how grateful I was that he shared that with me, because I could work wedding planning into his strategy. And so we front loaded and pushed him a little bit harder so that when he did propose, he could take 2-3 weeks off, and then had a little bit less on him as they were planning the wedding. And I have to say, this man, he came back afterwards and he was like, "You were so right. Thank you." So just sharing little details like that, helps us create strategies that support you in all areas.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a big one. those are big announcements. Those are things that, leaders should not keep to themselves, especially if they're looking for support for getting some things done. And you're helping them develop strategy for, to execute on, now, next quarter, next year, the whole nine. It's not just a one and done type of situation or scenario. This is a whole relationship that gets built over time and evolves as your life takes on all these different twists and turns. And the more knowledgeable you are about what is happening, the better you can be the best resource to him or them.
Her. Right. Correct. Yes.
Right. So As we're getting ready to wrap up, we have a few more minutes. I'd love for you to speak to any advice that you could give to organizations that are seeking clarity and sustainability in their organizations.
Great question. So if you'll indulge me, I'm a very visual person. And I think that in order to get clarity and create sustainability, we need to have a clear understanding of where it is you want to go. So I want you to think about creating a map to where you want to go. And so one thing I always tell people is we're human, so we have limited vision. So I want you to think as far out as you can right now and make that the X on your map. You're going to literally create a pirate map, so to speak. That's your treasure. And then work backwards from there to create long-term goals. Break those long-term goals down into short-term goals, and then break the short-term goals into either daily action steps or weekly action steps. And in that, you're going to create routines. You're going to build habits. You can habit stack, and you can teach yourself and educate yourself along the way in order to achieve that goal. And by working positively forward every day, knowing what it is you need to accomplish, you're going to stay very focused. Now, for sustainability, when I worked in the nonprofit world, there was a very tasteless joke that would happen at every conference you go to, which is, what would happen to this nonprofit if the executive director dropped dead today? But it's a very real joke, because 9 times out of 10, everything lives in your head. And so what I would advise, and what I have done in my own organization and in other organizations, is give every employee a notebook. And for a month, ask them to write down everything they do. And then once everything is done, go back through, compare notes, and then start creating SOPs, and then put those in a binder. And then also on a memory stick, and keep one memory stick off site, like maybe at your bank with a board member, I don't know, somebody that you trust, so that God forbid something happens, everything, including how to pay the electric bill, passwords, banking, is all in one place, so that somebody, Joe Blow off the street, could come in and with that SOP, run your business, and nobody would ever know that you were gone. So as you're working towards achieving that goal, also track what you do every day. And if your employees kind of balk and think, oh, she's getting ready to replace me, tell them, no, it's job security, that you are trying to create that. And then also work on cross-training, because, Renee, you need to know what I know. I need to know what you need to know. And then we can do each other's jobs, and then we can take vacations. That's how I always pitched it to my staff. So I hope that makes sense. But on that sustainability and growth and finding money, and also my last piece of advice is really work on your thoughts. Make sure every thought that you have is very positive. If you have a negative thought, throw it out. And I want you, before every meeting and every interaction, to visualize it as going to be very, very successful. Before I came into this podcast, this episode, all day, I have been thinking that this is going to be a record-breaking podcast. We're going to have too many views. It's going to be amazing, whatever that means, right? We're going to have millions and millions of views. And so I've started doing that. And I just want to share that in the 3 days I've been doing that, I've already seen change. So power of thought is everything.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. And there's so much power in your thoughts and controlling your thoughts, because negativity is around us all day, every day. And if we're not careful, we can get sucked in to that, that vortex of negativity. And then how we think about ourselves, or the images that we see of ourselves, or for our lives and things like that, they become impacted by that negativity. So you can nip those thoughts in the bud, just stop it and think positive thoughts. And I love that you were thinking positive thoughts about our show today, and that it's going to get so many views and so many likes and subscribes. I'm with you in that, because this is truly, it's fun for me. And I want it to be entertaining and engaging and educational, informative for the audience. So I feel that between this conversation and our back and forth banter and your teaching ability and clearly communicating all the things that we need to do to be better, I'm just so grateful for those positive thoughts that you put out there. I'm going to say in the universe, to come back and actually yield fruit. So yes, I'm all for it.
It is going to happen.
Yes, I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it right now. So Sara, how can people find out more about you and stay in touch and learn more about your work and how you might be able to help them?
Oh, great question. So my team is actually me and my daughter. I think that's one of the things that makes us so successful is we're a mother-daughter duo. She manages the website. So if you send a message to the website, she either answers you or sends it to me. You can also get in contact with us through LinkedIn. Very easy to find me on LinkedIn. And then you can also just email me, sarah@3raptorconsulting.com. And I will respond to you and we will get back to you and answer all of your questions. I will tell you most of the time, if you send me an email, I'm going to request a 15-minute call only because I find that these in-person conversations just help me understand so much that, and I will also be honest, if I can't serve you, I can almost guarantee you that I know someone who can serve you. And so I will always connect you. Oh, and my phone number's there. So feel free to call or text me. And if I don't answer my phone, I will call you back. Just leave a message and I will call you back.
Awesome. Well, Sara, this has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for all you do for small businesses and nonprofits and helping them develop strategy and thrive as leaders so that they can have an impact doing the things that they love to do. Sara, you were made for something great. So go and be awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.